In this episode, you'll discover why the finish is key to getting good in big boats like 8s, quads, and 4s.
Feel the grip of the oar handle, smooth yet firm in your hands. Taste the salt of your own sweat and the occasional splash of water. It's all part of the journey. Welcome to another episode of Faster Masters Rowing Radio. Each week, our host, Masters rowing coach Rebecca Caro, dives deep into the world of Masters rowing. Whether you're on the water or in the gym, join us to become a faster master. Let's go rowing.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back. And today we're going to be tackling a topic which is quite close to my heart. I'm racing in an 8 at the moment. And so we're going to be talking about finishes for 8s, quads, and 4s. These are big boats, and big boats are rowed differently than small boats. So what are the key things you have to be able to do in order to make your big boat go well? Start with the basics. You must finish together. All the oars have to come out of the water at the exact same time. So if you're watching a video of your crew, look for the amount of oar above the water surface, pause the video and see if everybody's oars are exactly the same height above the water surface as the oars come out of the water. So you might want to nudge the video forward on a kind of freeze frame. If they're not, what you're probably looking for is what people are doing with their handles, because what's happening in the water is directed by what's happening on the handle. In order to get the oar out of the water, some athletes may be dragging their handle so that they pull the handle along, and then when they get to the finish, they start to pull the handle downwards in order to take the oar out of the water. That dragging your handle down action starts to lift the tip of the oar out of the water, probably earlier than everybody else. Now, big boats move fast, and this is one of the reasons why finishes are different in big boats than small boats. If you take the pressure off the tip of the blade, the spoon, if you take the pressure off early, the little mound of water that's in front of the curved face of the blade and the little corresponding hollow pocket that is behind the blade, those start to equalise. And what you'll find is that the water very quickly catches up with your blade and then holds onto it. So you find that you're more likely to crab and you find it harder to get the oar out of the water. So part of the key to finishing together is actually to keep pressure on the face of the blade right through to the moment of extraction. Signs that you might be dragging your blade out of the water. So on the handle end, we've already talked about drawing the handle downwards before you finish the stroke. But at the blade end, you might find that the bottom edge flicks water as it comes out. You can also see people feathering out of the water, so the oar comes up and turns in order to extract, rather than it extracts square first and then turns in the air. Now, keeping it square until the finish is beneficial when you're talking microsecond speed differences, and more importantly, your timing of your blade in line with your colleagues in the other seats in the boat. And another sign that you're probably dragging your blade out is that if you've taken the oar out of the water and your blade is then very close to the surface of the water when it's already feathered, rather than coming out clean and high so that it gets out, the full depth of the blade comes above the water before you feather. So things that you can do to improve your finishes. Try square blades. It's not easy to do, and it's definitely not easy to do well, but it is a discipline that is rewarding in the long term because it helps you to work out how to fix some of these challenges of blade dragging, and getting the oar out clean so the water doesn't catch up. Before you try square blades, check first when you're sitting stationary that you have your foot stretcher set up correctly so that your angle of the shaft of your oar is parallel with everyone else's on that side of the boat. In an 8, you can check this by measuring the distance that the back of the back wheel of your seat is behind the face of the pin. Usually this is between 58 and 62 centimeters. Get in touch if you don't know how to measure that, if you don't know what this measurement is. When you are rowing square blades, it's also important to know where your handle should be at the finish, the moment before you take the blade out of the water. So with the boat stationary, everyone sits squared and buried at the finish. Look down and see, where is my handle on my chest? Where is my outside arm if I'm in a sweep boat? Where is my the gap between my handles if I'm in a sculling boat? Other things that you can do to help improve your ability to finish together is practice square blade rowing, practice holding on to the finish for 1 centimeter longer than you did before. So you all need to do that on the same stroke. Do it for 10 strokes at a time and just hold on to your finishes is the call that I use. And this helps people to keep the oar under the water and also to keep acceleration on the face of the blade. So you keep pushing just for 1 centimeter longer before you take the blade out of the water. Now, another thing that makes it extremely hard to finish well is if your boat is not level at the finish. So things you can do to get your boat level. Firstly, sit stationary to check your positioning. Check your handles, where they are on your body. Check your arms in sculling. Have you got your forearms at about 90 degrees to the blade shaft? In sweep, is your outside elbow pointing behind you to the person who sits behind you? And is your inside arm roughly at 90 degrees to the blade? What you don't want is your outside arm flared out to the side of the boat, like a kind of sculling arm finish, because it inhibits your ability to push the oar out of the water using your outside arm. So in sweep, remember the two hands, the two arms have different jobs of work. And being able to push down on the handle is something you do with your outside hand. Your outside hand controls the height of the handle. The inside hand squares and feathers. Also, if your elbow, right at the very finish, with your blade squared and buried under the water, if your elbow is lower than your wrist in sweep or sculling, it's really hard to put downward pressure to push the oars out of the water. So that means you're rigged too high. You need to make adjustments for that. When you're rowing square blades, the height differences really show up when the boat's not level. So your square blade rowing and your level finish are two things that work together. If one's off, the other is likely to be off too. So when the boat's not level, what it highlights is the differences in your finish timing and also your handle heights. So going back and fixing those is a good way to start. If you want to learn square blade rowing, we have a 3-day course that you can do, self-guided, that in 3 lessons, which you can do over 3 days or 3 weeks, with, of course, practice in between, you will learn the skills of handling the blade so that you can take the blade out square and then successfully transition onto the recovery while keeping your boat level at the finish. Have fun. Go get your finishes better. Until next time, bye-bye.
We are part of the RowingChat podcast network. please tell your fellow rowers about the show. If you've learned just one helpful thing from today's episode, please consider supporting the show for as little as $1 per month by visiting fastermastersrowing.com/podcast.